At my coronation, I shall dedicate myself anew to your service.
I suppose the key to her success has been her mantra of being duty. She puts duty above all else, except on one occasion, on the death of Diana, Princess of Wales in 1997. She chose family over duty in that she stayed at Balmoral to look after her two grandsons, William, 15, Harry, 12, much to the criticism of people, mourners, got castigated, vicious press for staying up there. It's only when she came down and paid tribute to Diana, and people started thinking about why did she stay up there, that they realized, yes, she did the right thing, and yes, she did put family above duty. It's the only time in her life that she's done that.
The Queen and Prince Philip were married for 73 years, I believe. She called him her strength and her stay.
He was always there. He had been there since she was 13 and he was 18. They met in 1939. 81 years they knew each other. They were married for 73 years. He was always there. And it was very difficult to come to terms, but she was prepared for it. So it was expected. But even though it's expected, when it does come, you find it very difficult to accept. And you can't grieve in public because she's a generation that didn't do that sort of thing. You didn't show emotions in public. So she had to grieve alone, sometimes with her family. And I don't think anybody will ever forget that solitary figure sitting in St. George's Chapel in the choir stalls with a face mask on, separated, socially distanced from the rest of the family. And one of the things that she does, she leads by example. And my goodness, did she lead by example.
I want to pick up on that thought of that she doesn't grieve in public, and she's of a generation that doesn't do that. I think some people can take away from that that she doesn't feel deeply, that she's a bit emotionless. What did you see in the time that you were press secretary?
I saw the Queen as a private person when I was at Buckingham Palace in the press office. I had the fortunate invitation shortly after I joined to go up to Balmoral. And I arrived at Balmoral, raining cats and dogs. I was told by the footman, "You're going on a picnic." And he said, "Don't worry, it's in a log cabin. Be here in half an hour and Her Majesty will drive you to the log cabin." I kicked my heels around. This 5'4" whirlwind whipped past me and said, "Come on, get in." There's no good morning, good evening or anything like that. And I got into the Land Rover and off she went. She had a pretty heavy right foot, which meant that we were going pretty fast. And we arrived at the log cabin and she dived into it and I was left outside with Prince Philip. And he explained the lie of the land where we were. And the Queen called us into lunch. And there were just four of us sitting at the table. The Queen, Prince Philip, lady in waiting. We helped ourselves out of Tupperware. We had china plates, silver cutlery, and at the end of it, the Queen said we must clear up. And I took it as my cue, as being the junior courtier, to go and wash up. So I started washing up, and I heard this footfall behind me. I thought, oh, lady in waiting's coming to give me a hand. How nice. And I casually said over my shoulder, without even turning my head, "Okay, I'll wash you dry." And this very familiar voice said, "No, I'll wash you dry." So I did the drying up, and the Queen did the washing up. And her hands in soap suds with no rubber gloves.
The public did not see a side of the Queen that you saw and that those close to her saw. And I think that was deliberate, right?
The Queen in public did retain a mystique, so people didn't know. The problem is that as soon as you let that veil drop and you start reacting to things, then the media will interpret. So the Queen remained absolutely neutral. She just would let her guard down very, very slightly if she was on a walkabout and talking to people, but it was letting it down very slightly, just letting a minute chink of light in. It's a very difficult thing to do for human beings, but she was well practiced at it.
Inevitably, a long life can pass by many milestones. My own is no exception.
Is that mystique and that strategy part of her success as well?
I suppose that mystique and that strategy is part of her success, because people don't really know. And when people don't know, they are intrigued. So they go along to see, in the hope of maybe learning a bit more, maybe the chink of light will penetrate further than it has done in the past, but it doesn't.